This is the Construction Leading Edge podcast from constructionleadingedge.com and buildermasterclass.com. My name is Todd DeWalt, and it's my job to help you maximize profit and eliminate chaos in your business. And I've got a good interview for you today with Anthony Amunategui. He's the founder of the CDO Group, which provides outsourced corporate construction, development, and project management services for businesses all over the country. He founded the business over 20 years ago, and he's worked with corporate clients all over the country in hospitality, retail, and a variety of different industries. And here's what you're going to learn about in this really good interview. You'll learn about some of the non-traditional work cultures that Anthony embraces. Some of these actually surprised me. You'll learn one thing about his approach to business development that is contrary and counterintuitive and backwards from the way most people approach business development. You'll learn about nationwide rollout projects and some of their nuances. We talk about productivity killers. We talk about Anthony's favorite failure. He also explains how the industry is set up to lie to each other and how projects are headed toward what he calls, quote, dirt to dishes in 4 weeks. And we'll talk about the importance of taking care of and getting buy-in from your frontline site workers. Great stuff. You're going to get a lot out of this interview. Before we get into that, here are a couple of things that I want to tell you about. If you're a busy construction business owner, there's a pretty good chance that you don't have good visibility into your financials. You could be getting financial reports too late, or maybe not getting financial reports at all. Or maybe you're not keeping your books up and you really don't have any idea what your numbers are. Well, if that's you, you're not alone. Scott Schweiger said this: I highly recommend Apparatus Contractor Services. My small startup construction company was over a year behind with its bookkeeping. I was wearing way too many hats, and ultimately the books suffered. They provided bookkeeping solutions that got us caught up in the systems to stay on the right track. I'm so happy I'm turning over payroll processing to them as well. Elizabeth Evans said hiring Apparatus was a game changer for our business. They've allowed me to grow our construction company over 100% since we hired them about a year ago. Bill, president of Spice Industries, said hiring Apparatus was one of the best business decisions I've ever made. They have almost completely freed me up from sitting at my computer reconciling budgets with my own makeshift system. So if you want to offload your bookkeeping or payroll headaches, or you just want better reporting, the Apparatus Contractor Services team may be able to help you. Visit goapparatus.com to hear from other construction business owners and see how Apparatus can help you. That's goapparatus.com. I don't want my competition to know about Coconstruct because it gives me an edge over them. That's what one custom home builder told me after using Coconstruct for a couple of years. I referred one of my coaching clients who's a custom home builder to Coconstruct, and after using it for a couple of weeks, he said, the ability to schedule projects weeks in advance has been an absolute game changer. And there's all sorts of other things that Coconstruct does for you. It basically lets you run your entire business on one piece of software. Using Coconstruct means you'll be able to manage your projects with more profits, less chaos, and maybe even with less people. And there are two unexpected benefits to being a Coconstruct user. Number one, it gives you access and membership into a community of other builders where you can share best practices, bounce ideas off each other. And then number two, Coconstruct is not just a software company. They don't want to just sell you software. They will help you become a better builder and better at business. As one builder told me, quote, Coconstruct cares about my bottom line, not just theirs, end quote. So if you're a home builder, remodeler, general contractor, and you want to up your game, reduce chaos, increase profits, then go to constructionleadingedge.com/Coconstruct. See what Coconstruct can do for you. If you sign up, make sure and tell them that I sent you, and then I'm going to load you up with some bonuses, some templates that will help you get up the learning curve even faster. But go to constructionleadingedge.com/Coconstruct and see what it can do for you. All right, without further ado, here is my interview with Anthony Amunategui. Enjoy. All right, Anthony, thanks for being on the podcast. How's it going today?
Great. You know what? Doing really good today. Great day.
Excellent. Where are you located in the world?
You know, I am in Chicago, Illinois. I'm actually in Oak Park, Illinois, right outside the city limits of Chicago.
Okay.
Great town. Frank Lloyd Wright town. Lots of great architecture. and history here in Oak Park.
Excellent. So let's talk about your business in just a second. We're going to get into quite a bit today, but tell us about your business, what you're doing today, and how you got started in that business.
I think it makes sense to give you a little bit of a history. I started my career at Discovery Zone. You guys remember the playgrounds for kids, right? The ball bins. They were like big Chuck E. Cheeses. I started there. They were bought by Blockbuster Video. I went on the Blockbuster Video. I went from there to Boston Market, there to Einstein Bagels. I was always in-house with multiple brands. From Einstein Bagels, I went on to Au Bon Pain, and from Au Bon Pain, I would say it was Bread Company, which became Panera Bread. And I was part of their development team. And the thing I really realized was that we were buying cows to get milk, right? The brands I worked for were Playgrounds or selling chicken, or they'd sell videos or breakfast. And we would have as big a development team as we did an operations team. And, back then, getting a fax machine on a job site was a coup, right? So there was, we had beepers, communication and technology was difficult. So you had to get one of your own people out to a job site to see what was going on, to trust what was happening. And that's one of the guys that I was. I was an internal agent for the company that would go out and make sure that those projects were happening the way they were happening. And, seeing that got me into a place where I'm going, all right, one, I kept working myself out of a job. I get that, hey, Anthony, we love you, but we're done building anymore. Now we're going to send you off to out to the farm again and look for another job. And that was great at first. But as you start getting older, you start looking and going, well, I probably don't want to keep doing that. And that's where CDO came from. And the idea behind that was that it's chief development officer, right? Everything a chief development officer would do for a company, or corporate development outsourcing, which really gave them the ability to hire a team of people. And back then, there was no, when we did this, there were no outsourced construction management companies. I would call people and they'd go, what? We have a general contractor. No. We want to be your staff. We want to be your construction staff. And we started with overflow work with companies, but as we started to create the industry of outsourced construction manager, the floodgates opened and we were standing in front of them. And, it's been a great growth for the last 22 years.
Yeah, I know that work yourself out of a job situation. I worked for was a senior living community operator, and I was the development guy, and it was primarily healthcare operations, but I was there as a necessary evil because they needed somebody to get their stuff built. And then as soon as they were done building, then they didn't need me. And yeah, not a good long-term strategy. So CDO, you said, and that stands for Chief Development Officer or Corporate Development Outsourcing?
Yeah, that's actually our corporate name. It's Corporate Development Outsourcing. It was a double play on the words, right? We wanted to make sure that we gave people everything that would fall under that role, from the site selection, demographic modeling, all of the site selection analysis work on the real estate side, but then on the construction side, really give them the all the aspects of rollout. We do rollout construction. We're not typically doing one-off projects. We'll work for brands. Right now we're working in across the country for multiple brands. We build brands like McDonald's and Starbucks and Hertz, and we're currently doing programs like CVS, and they're great. We do lots of projects in all 50 states, and we give them the ability to roll up a program, systemize it, communicate with vendors, and all the things that we need to execute on the program. And then on the backside of it, make sure that we get contractors and subs and deliver programs and projects on time. And even more important than that, making sure that those people do it on time and at a cost that's acceptable for the company. And we've got a pretty good program for doing that. And we've broken some deep barriers. We're also a woman-owned business. My wife, Sophia, took over running the company, and we're breaking some great boundaries there. We've got great women in leadership here, and we've got 3 daughters who someday we hope will join the business. And as we start to see our diversity and our inclusion of people, we're really noticing solutions that are bringing to the table things that I never thought of. Right? Today we're estimating different. Our job sites are safer than ever. Our people, our employees are happier than they've ever been. We've got great people who are working hard at this, and it takes other people. You can't have one way of thinking. I think you got to bring a lot of different people into the play to do that, and we're breaking that barrier now.
Yeah. So you mentioned rollout. Did you call them rollout or roll up programs?
Rollout. So, a rollout is you want to implement the strategy across multiple. Like for example, we worked on a 6,000 store program for McDonald's from 17 through 18 and 19. Even this year, we're still working on that program. And there are 6,000 stores. They have their new look, the design of the future look, really taking McDonald's from where it was, the plastic fiberglass chairs, to kind of a third place environment, making way more comfortable, way cleaner, and just really getting that sense of what a great brand they've become.
So the idea of managing one project can be complicated. That can overwhelm a lot of folks. But talk about managing projects that span across hundreds of locations. What are the keys? What are the top one or two keys, or maybe the differences to looking at a rollout program, a program versus a project, if that makes sense?
Todd, it's the same for no matter what we do. This business is plagued by cowboys, right? They show up, they got a holster, boom, 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 they're shooting from the hip, and then they wonder why projects have brain damage, right? We all go, as we talk about, we're like fish in a fish tank. We go around going, oh, look, bubbles. Oh, like we've never seen these problems before. We keep showing up like we've never done this before. And you're like, okay, you don't have to operate this way. Our whole game has always been about getting ahead of the problem, right? Great management starts in design development. And how do we look at the design? What are the aspects of it? Are they attachments? Are they structural? What are the components that we're going to put into this thing that as we go to roll it out affect our permitting, our drawings, our permitting, our budgets, our contractors, the time frame, the shutdown, the impact to operations, especially on a remodel program, right? So what we do is we spend a lot of time way up in the beginning with that design development. But then your whole goal is to forecast and start working ahead. For example, we're working on plans today that are for projects for next year, right? We're way far ahead of those. Our goal is to start to really work on banking permits, right? Things that once we get through the permitting process and we can get all the ordering done, and now we can start to manage our teams. Right? Imagine what it's like to give contractors a look at their next 30 months, right? You think we start getting some value out of them? You think contractors give us some great, go, hey, look, I want to be on that team? Because now they're looking at programs not as one at a time, and the ebb and tide of that, and having the staff and price it, going, all right, look, I'm going to price it so I make money on this, and I have to carry my staff and make money and carry my staff. Now I can go from project to project to project, and I can be more efficient at it, and I can lower the price for the customer because I'm not carrying those employees in the off times, and the customer gets a more consistent deliverable, right? So that's a lot of way when we look at it, and the system we've put together. Today's communication tools are way smarter than we've ever had, right? It used to be maybe you had a Gantt chart of some kind, and you would look at, start underground here, pour back floor here. Today we can look at it inside and go, when we saw cut, when we remove the material, where it goes, we can look at, hour by hour increments of a project like we've never done before. And that's the real joy of the technology we have today. So we can see things so much clearer than ever before. The days of, everybody had to show up at a job site at 6 a.m. or nothing would get done because inevitably where I wanted to work, there'd be a stack of drywall there, right? And then you get a plumber like, hey, I can't work because there's a stack of drywall. Today I can look at a job site and, we have implemented things, what we call, a shift stacking. It used to be trade stacking. How many people I can get on a job site at one time? Now I look at that and go, how many people can I get on a job site throughout a day? And I can spread those out, right? I can spread those hours out. It may not, the days of having everybody show up at 6 a.m., getting up at 4, getting on the truck, getting to the job site, young people aren't looking for that anymore. There are a lot of great young people in the trades that are joining now, but they don't want to do like their father did. They don't mind getting there at 10 o'clock in the morning and working a little bit later. They don't mind that. And today, with the way we look at job sites, they can do that. Or we can have a guy that can start at 3 o'clock in the morning. Someone that wants to get there really, really early and get off really early. Great. We can tell them exactly where we need to be. We can be prepared for them the night before. And then we can have people show up at 11 or 12 or 1 and do a second shift on the project and be just as effective, if not more effective, because there's not people working over top of them and the job site's prepared for it. So I think what we're getting with this new technology is pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I've often thought, you look at the typical job site, say for a general contractor, right? They have overhead. They have all of their general conditions costs that are getting billed out per month. And that meter's running 24 hours a day. But people are only working on the job 8 hours a day. And the meter's running and the clients are paying for all of those general conditions. Why not work a split shift? Why not start 4 o'clock in the morning and work and have split shifts so you have less overlap? That's a great point, that this whole idea of everybody starts at the same time because we have to have everybody there at once. That is like the Flintstone era. And it just doesn't, it's all based on, here's what I found. I found that most general contractors, builders, maybe humans in general, but certainly general contractors and construction managers, they want to do as little as possible when it comes to planning, let's say. They want to do as little as possible as late as possible. So when a subcontractor shows up, there are a lot of GCs that say, I'll just meet you out there and show you what you need to do. And subcontractors will do that because that's par for the course. And that is ridiculous. And I've talked to so many of my clients who say that's how their builders or their general contractor customers work, is they say, we'll just meet you out there. And then it's crazy, just absolute cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs crazy, in my opinion, to do that. So I love that idea of let's stack shifts instead of stacking trades. While we're talking about productivity, you have the unique vantage point of looking at lots of different job sites, lots of different contractors. What are some of the top root causes of low productivity on construction sites, in your opinion?
You were right on. When you're talking about the misfunction or dysfunction of projects, you got to look at our business. It's set up for people to lie to each other, right? I mean, here, just think about it from the beginning. We start off by saying to it, hey, you got to bid against me. Somewhere, someone's got to lie, right? Go, I can do it less than you can do. And you're like, no, this is what it costs me to build a project. And somewhere I got to lie and go, no, I can do it for less than that. And someone's going to go, no, I can do less than that. And then now I've got to figure out how to make money on that, right? And most of our subs are set up in that round of where can I go to make money today to make my payroll this Friday, right? They're working hand to mouth. They're trying to find anywhere they can find enough to make their payroll. And by the way, those are usually our low cost providers, right? But because of that, we put up so much brain damage, right? We need a project where we have 5 people show up, right? We've committed to 5 to make a schedule work. Now all of a sudden we get 3 of them, right? And out of the 3 of them, 2 are good and one's holding up a wall somewhere. And we wonder why we're dysfunctional. You're like, all right, and now we've delayed something else. But as this Internet of Things is happening, and what's going to break through is you're going to be able to rate not just, when a sub looks at you and goes, I can be at a job starting on Monday, you're going to be able to go, BS. I can look right now and go, you're already committed to another project. And by the way, when you tell me you have 5 guys, I can tell you already got 3 of them going somewhere else. That technology is a blink away. We are literally on the verge of being able to see manpower, resources, and then also be able to rate and see productivity of that. We're seeing across the industry now where the AI on job sites is starting to pick up productivity. We're watching job sites, seeing people doing activities, where they're moving to. You can tell when they're distressed or when they're fatigued, by their productivity That's right. It's here now. We're starting to see the beginning levels of that. Kind of like the bag phone was when it first started, when cell phones first started. Remember those big old bag phones? The AI is there now. There's like there's some of it starting. People are carrying around, and it's picking out some components. We're doing high-rise buildings where you can watch people do forming, and you can watch people do finishing, and starting to see pick out and learn some of that very quickly. People are going to start wearing gear that will interact with the network. We're going to be able to have people wearing exoskeleton type equipment now to do strenuous jobs. They're going to be able to do stuff better because of those tools. So, what's working is that if you go back and look at the pre-setup of a program or a project, the part of us that says, all right, if we're going to go look at a rollout, or we're going to go look at a project, getting our people involved early. Now, the problem is you lie to each other, right? No one's got the time to go to a pre-bid meeting or go to a job setup meeting. They're barely surviving. But we're showing them, hey, look, if you'll spend a little bit more time here, it'll save you so much more brain damage here. The problem is we're not like that. My wife used to study for tests that were going to happen weeks out, right? That's her personality. That's not me. I would study the night before a test. I would jam all night long, and I would go in, I'd walk in, I'd be really alive on a cup of coffee, and I'd pass the test. Well, our industry more represents that behavior than the one that my wife is, which is prepare, and cruise into the finish a lot easier. But as we're starting to notice the damage that happens out here, the frustration, every hour spent in the beginning of a project saves 10 hours later on. And we financially have proven that over and over and over. And we teach our subs and our contractors, hey, look, we're going to spend a little bit more time over here. We're going to have pre-bid meetings. We're going to walk through. We do things like 3D cameras. Everybody sees the job site. So if you can't get there, we're going to send it to you, right? We use this 3D imaging software that you can walk through a project and you can see where the columns are, where the window jams are, where the little details that you're going to need to see in a remodel or a new construction project. If a guy can't get to the job site, we'll bring it to them. Mm-hmm. And that way they can see it and they can get prepared. All right, where am I going to stack? Where am I going to put all my gear? Where am I going to park my trucks? How am I stacking my gear? How's that going to run? So the more time we spend in the beginning, Todd, you see it all the time. The better it affects what happens at the end of a job. So.
Absolutely. I think I like to say you can't overinvest in planning. You just can't. I've been involved with $100 million projects and $750 projects, and I've been on some projects I've been on a lot of projects that are poorly planned, and I've been on a few that are well planned, and it just makes such a difference. But what I realized just not too long ago that we just have this mindset. It's the studying for the test, and maybe it goes along with the contractor mentality. As you mentioned, the kind of cowboy mentality, which is, I don't know what I'm going to get into, but I'm going to roll into town. I'm going to have my guns on. And honestly, I think part of it is we like being that firefighter. We like the thrill of, oh shit, what's going to happen now? This is about to get bad. And then look at me. I pulled us out of the fire one more time. We get this kind of demented sense of satisfaction. But the problem is we're doing as little planning as possible, as late as possible. And if we would just plan weeks in advance, and I like to say, you should plan your projects like you would plan a bank robbery, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly.
Nobody walks into a bank and says, all right, we're just going to kind of figure this thing out on the fly, because the consequences are pretty big. Let's talk about planning. You mentioned you do pre-bid meetings. You're investing in planning on the front end, providing opportunities, maybe even forcing contractors to do more planning than they want. What else? What are the keys to pre-planning projects for success?
Let's go back a little bit. So going back to that design development part. right? As we look at the design of a project before you even start the drawings, right? Looking at, I oftentimes say to a developer or somebody, I'll save you more money in the construction cost by doing a better real estate deal, right? As we look at the buy of the real estate, as we look at the property itself, the parts that we negotiate in and out of a deal, do we bring utilities to the site? Do we bring, pad ready, not pad ready? What are the parts and pieces we do on the buying of the project, right? And then as we start to walk through the project and do design development of it, we start to look at the components of the project, right? How can we best affect those? What are the technologies and tools that we do to do that? Are the prefab materials? Throughout our industry, there are great, and that's the thing that's been seen about the internet now. Architects used to pick from one small little bank of tools. If the guy did drywall metal studs, that's how every project he did was drywall metal studs. Now today they can pull from different piping diagrams. Now some of the codes are catching up to that, but as we're starting to find that architects can pull from technologies everywhere, they can start implementing. We're working more and more and more with prefab materials, right, that are changing what happens on a job site. But just like a job site, it's not that there's less managing of it. It just moves the management to the beginning of the project. Prefab doesn't mean that there's anything less in management. In fact, if anything, it takes more management because you're doing it in advance and you have to see things you're ahead of time. But what's great about it, you do the work up in advance, and you make what happens on a job site seem a lot easier. So, all the way along the way, there are opportunities for us to grab smarter ways to do it. 20 years ago, we were building hotels, and I would take, let's say that this was all the stuff that goes in a room, right? We take the bed, the dresser, the nightstand, the sink, the mirrors, the telephone, the alarm clock, the carpet, the wallpaper, and we put it in a little bundle, and we'd slide it into the room. And we were genius back then, right? We would save hundreds of hours of people going up and down stairs, right? And if it was computers and we were going by Moore's law, right? Today, things double every couple of years. We should be able to build a hotel in a weekend, right? You would think by now we're going, all right, let's build a hotel in a weekend. And no, we don't. We still show up and people forget. So I think that's one of the reasons why, as we look forward and AI technology start to come into play, that part of us that plays Superman on a job site, that likes playing cowboy, let me show you the S on my chest behavior, gets created because they want to be there. They want to show everybody how important they are. It becomes less effective because, one, we're going to have to build a lot faster than ever before. Across our wall in our main office space, it says 17 feet long. It says dirt to dishes in 4 weeks. That means building ground up buildings in 4 weeks. If contractors aren't thinking of that today, they're fools, right? The future of our business is way faster. It's way faster. We're going to be driven by and cheaper, right? Because now people don't have the 20-year lease anymore. People are now looking at 3 to 5 year leases, maybe. We were in a mall in Europe last summer where we're looking at the entire mall was a pop-up mall. So the mall itself is the structure and the design and all the coolness, and every store in it was a pop-up, right? These are 3 to 9 month leases. Every once in a while, they might have a big brand that takes on a year lease, but that was the longest leases they had, was a year-long lease. So people are expecting to be able to build out a lot cheaper than they were before, right? You don't have this 10-year lease to amortize those expenses across. So the direction we're going to be getting from clients in the future is this is going to have to happen faster, right? With the Internet of Things, they're going to know where the customers are at. Look, if they're a sneaker brand, they're going to be able to go look at all the data and go, here's where my guys are. Here's my runners are. Our runners are right here. I'm going to put a store right in front of them, and they're going to have to bump into my store, right? Because they don't need a store forever. They just need that runner to get that first experience, right? That first wear the shoes for the first time. Now I'll buy them online, right? Because that's how it goes. It's like Chipotle. Right? My first time I went to a Chipotle, I had to go down the line and see the guy scoop the avocado on and put the chicken on. I had to have that look. But today, if I get it from Uber Eats, who cares? So that restaurant won't be where it is today. That main location is great, but if it comes from a plant behind the mall in the B location and a lot less rent and a production house, it might come from there, right? So technology is changing the way retailers are looking at this, which is going to mean that we, on the other side of this, have got to look at how we're doing this smarter, better. And there's a lot of us out there that are acting like taxi drivers in an Uber world, right? We're like, oh, we're going to do it this way. Dude, you got to evolve. Time to evolve. So it's time to go to, start using technology and finding ways for us to do this way smarter than we've ever done it before. So
absolutely,
that's a big piece of it,
Yeah, I use the analogy that a lot of people are essentially, it's like they're investing in Blockbuster. Because you know what, when I was a kid, that was pretty exciting to go rent a movie. But my kids don't know anything about VHS tapes. They don't know anything like this whole concept of like, what do you mean? You had to drive somewhere, and then you had to find a movie, and you had to hope that the movie was there, and then you had to what does rewind mean? Be kind, rewind. What are you talking about? And then what is this thing? There's a physical device that you had to touch to watch a movie. Now my kids just, we sit and scroll through Amazon and Netflix for 45 minutes to figure out what we're going to watch. But Blockbuster was great for a while, but they got disrupted. Yeah. And they didn't see what was coming. And I completely agree. There are a lot of contractors who are like, they're going to be standing there with no customers saying, but this worked 2 years ago. This is what we've always done. And I heard the president of a local Associated Builders and Contractors. I spoke at an event, and he shared some interesting statistics that he was at an owners conference. So this was a conference of construction owners, big Fortune 50, very large project owners like hotels and companies along the lines of Procter & Gamble and people who invested billions of dollars in projects. And they said, the owners said, we're expecting our projects to have a reduction in cost of 40% and be delivered in half the time. There's way too much waste. It's taking way too long. It's too expensive. And they're going to start forcing contractors to do it. Just like 25, probably 30, 40 years ago, owners didn't care about safety records. But at some point, some owners started saying, hey, show us your safety record, show us your EMR. And if you don't meet the criteria, then you're out. And that same thing's going to happen. And there are going to be a lot of contractors like overnight, they're going to be cut off, and they're going to end up like Blockbuster, and we're just going to get completely disrupted. So yeah, that's a great point. I am curious. We've got a lot of contractors that listen to this, and there's a lot of talk about productivity. Sure. On job sites. What do you see as the chronic killers of productivity on job sites? And we already talked about planning, and I agree that planning is a huge key to productivity. But is there anything else that you see that really stands out to you that you can say that's really affecting the productivity on these job sites?
I will tell you the thing I've learned the most, other than the planning, you're right, rather than planning, is engagement of your team. That most people treat their site people like, they got business development guys, and my business development guys, they're all over them because they got me the deal. And then they got the operations guys, my operations guys. But then when it comes to site people, they treat them like second fiddles. And that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where you've got to get their buy-in. You've got to get, what we work on here is if we have better site people, if we make them not just better at their job, right? If we make them better humans, right? We take care of their health. We make sure their families are well taken care of, their communities, right? If we spend more time with them as human beings, the productivity doubles, triples. They have a vested interest. They want to be part of a community that cares about them. They're not just, our superintendents, we look for them to be the best, in best physical shape. We care about their health. They're smoking cigarettes, drinking pop and coffee all day long is not what we're looking for. We're looking for people that are looking to be healthy, right? People that are going to the gym, not just getting up in the morning and skipping the park. And it matters to us. You feel like, well, what do you mean? Like we have free gym memberships for all of our people here. Well, why? Because healthy people, sick people, hurt people, right? And what we learned is that if we take care of our individuals, they take care of our company, And by the way, they take care of our clients. And that is the number one. If people aren't thinking about their people, they're foolish. That's if I could squeeze more blood out of a turn, stop that. You're not going anywhere. The best is if we can take care of them. They take care of our communities. They take care of our companies. They take care of our clients. And at the end of the day, you get that all that stuff will represent. They'll care about what they're doing every day, and they're not fighting against you, and they're fighting with you. And that's the secret I found. It took me, it took me about 4 years ago. We made this massive shift in looking at our staff, and I can tell you, it was almost like a line in the sand from how that occurred for us on projects. The amount of productivity we had, our customer satisfaction, our employee satisfaction. Make sure your people have what they need. They've got health care. Make sure they've got the benefits. Make sure when you look at them, you honor them with who they are. Because by the way, you have nothing in this business without great people. And I think that we're seeing that, and we're seeing that across the industry about diversity, right? The women, the men, all the ethnic groups that are part of our you start to embrace that and bring their cultures to light. It is it's like a wonder world of experiences, right? You can really get to know different people from where they're at, not from where I'm at. Not, hey, welcome over to my team and do it my way. I like go to where they're at and get their experience and their cultures. And it's been a fun journey to say the least. So I would say that's a place where you're going to make the difference. And if people aren't seeing that, people that can't see that are thinking short term. They're not thinking long term.
Yeah. I'm curious, what was it that led up to that shift in the mindset and the approach toward your people?
Yeah, I'll be frank with you. It was about my health, right? I grew up in this industry, and drinking and nights out and the way we ate and the way we were, somewhere in there that stopped working. It was fun at first when I was young and you could get away with it, but somewhere it stopped working. So about 4 years ago, I stopped drinking, right? And then all of a sudden there was a shift. I couldn't see it. I really believed that this industry was all about taking people out and partying, right? If I would take a customer out and have fun with them, they'd give me more work. The truth is that never worked. People that we got to work from weren't reliable. You couldn't count on them. The relationships we have were shifty. And today we focus on what we can do to build healthy relationships, not just with the client, ourselves, and our employees. And I would say that was the biggest shift right there, right? And we talk about things in our company like people's feelings, right? We talk about emotions and how to look at those, right? And by the way, we're all nervous. We all feel different. What happens to the human part of us, right? We started when I started doing that as a leader in my own life. I got to practice as a leader, and then the other leaders in the company started to practice that with themselves, and then it became a domino effect. And we're seeing, we encourage people to read. Go ahead. You want to read a book? Buy a book. Expense any book that you're going to read in our company, because you know what? We want you to read it. Encourage other people to read a great book. I get more books from people on our teams every single week. Someone's giving me, hey, check out this book. I just read this great idea. And if I want to go somewhere different, look, you and I got to this podcast today from everything we know right now. If we're going to go anywhere and grow as human beings, we've got to get some new data in, right? We've got to get some new technology in. And that was a big difference, right? Learning that and going, oh, maybe I don't have it all figured out. I could try on something new. And all of a sudden started noticing, look at that. That's actually a way easier way of doing something. Or, we're having more fun doing it this way than we ever thought before. Today our times together are healthy events, things that we can do to make each other healthy. So I'd say that's a big shift.
Yeah. I came to a similar conclusion probably 4 or 5 years ago, that the key, that solving a lot of the problems on projects and in companies was a lot simpler and more satisfying than I ever thought, because I banged my head against the wall. I would find a problem, go develop a plan, go into my cave, come out of my cave with this fully baked plan, and then try to essentially tamp it down the throats of all the people who were supposed to implement it. And I was always disappointed in the results of that. And then I realized somehow, maybe through probably one specific situation where I couldn't come up with a plan. I couldn't tamp it down their throats, and I needed the team to do it. And I tried a new approach. And what I found was when you just, as you said, when you engage your team and you treat them like humans and you ask them, hey, what do you think? And what do you think? What do you think? How can we do this? It's amazing. And I am now convinced that if not all, the vast majority of the solutions to the vast majority of the problems we face in the industry are in the hearts and minds of the 7 million people that currently work in the construction industry. And all we need to do is tap into them, stop managing them, bossing them, and start leading them. And I believe a lot of our problems will go away. So that's my theory.
I want to tell you that it's me, right? Start to realize that as a leader, the problems we have as a company start with me, right? If I turn the eyes on me, I start to look at, because my team's got it, right? When you trust them, inspire them. I was in a meeting yesterday. Here, I got it on my desk right here. Here, it says it right here. Just be quiet and smile, right? Because I, as an owner or a leader, want to jump in and give my 2 cents all the time, and I can stifle their creativity. It says, I put a big sign in front of me all day at this meeting going, look, my leadership body they do a great job. If we let them do it and we inspire them to keep doing it, they'll learn faster and even way better ideas than I ever had. The problem is that most of us in leadership want to build, castles to ourselves. Instead of the right solution, like you were talking about, so trying to find the right thing, you want to get some sort of, let me show you my S. Let me show you the S on my chest, right? That whole experience. So yeah, you're right there. The billions of people in our industry today have it, and it's not always necessarily tied up in just its leadership. It's in its body of people.
Yep, definitely. So we may have touched on this a little bit, but in your in the information that you sent me before we set this up, there's a statement that says, Anthony is a large believer in non-traditional work cultures and practices. We may have touched on that a little bit, but unpack that a little bit. What are some of those non-traditional work cultures and practices?
Like I said before, if we invest in our people, right? If we make sure that if we take care of the people that work for us and we look at their physical health, right? Mind, body, soul is a big belief around here, right? If we take care of their body, right? Make sure that they're getting, encourage healthy eating, right? Working out, the kind of stuff that makes them healthier people, and encourage them to be better family people, right? Take care of their families, their communities, make investments in their communities, do the stuff that helps the world. We say, is our mailman that comes into our company, is he a better person because he walked in here today, right? Are we making the mailman who walks into our office, does he live a better life because he walked in the CEO's office today? And if we can answer yes to that, then we're hitting it right? What are we doing with the people who we engage on, from the people that show up on our job sites, right? Are they safer? Are we making sure that people, it used to be PPE was this afterthought, right? Oh, the ocean's coming, holy cow. Ah! Dude, we want people to go home with their fingers and their toes, and we want to make sure they're safe and no one dies. We're breaking safety records every year with, just simple behaviors, right? Making sure everybody's got boots on, make sure people are wearing jeans, make sure that, we've got eye protection and head protection, right? The tools that we need just to make the basic safeties, and then doing things like tool talks, putting it out in front of people, making sure people are signing it when they walk on our job site. Everyone on our job site knows what those agreements are. And then, in the office, the same thing, right? What are we doing instead of having, now I got to admit, someone had donuts out there yesterday. It's not necessarily someone, and I think that was my wife. She went to a pumpkin patch and they got some pumpkin donuts. which I would not recommend. It's not in our and someone gave me some heck about that, was it's not our plan, right? But things that we do to eat healthier around here, make sure that that makes a difference, right? And you go, well, Anthony, how does that produce more production in your company? Healthy people have healthy ideas, which translate into more productive projects with happier customers, right? And our relationships with those customers are healthier. So that's the non-stuff. So, and also, if you go to a great course, if you read a great book, we encourage you to bring that back and do it. Today, I'm going with a guy. We're going to a construction show in Phoenix that promises to bring out some non-traditional technologies to look at. So, always looking to learn. If we, you, me, and the leadership body of the industry keeps learning, think about what that could do to us.
Yeah. I think that shift. One of the keys for me is shifting the people that are part of the projects and the companies, the people that are doing the work, shifting them out of the how we get stuff done into why. When our people, when our teams and our customers and our trade partners, when they become at least part of why we're doing what we're doing, then a lot of problems go away because people feel it. When somebody walks into your organization, they're going to feel that intent. When a subcontractor shows up on the job site, they're going to feel like, wow, these guys aren't trying to control me with their safety program. They genuinely want me to be safe. And when people feel valued and trusted, productivity goes way up, motivation goes way up, problems get solved. A lot of problems just go away. And I love the idea of healthy eating. And some people are probably like, what in the world does that have to do with anything? I realize that my lunch habits probably have cost me at least six figures over the course of my career, because what I used to eat was bread and sugar and a lot of the wrong stuff. And then I drank soft drinks and I ate fast food. And you know how productive I was in the afternoon, like 2 hours after lunch? Not at all. And it cost me so much. There's no telling how many mistakes I made, how many things I put off, stuff I didn't do because of the Mexican or the fast food that I ate for lunch. So I think I would advise people, if you could spend $10 a day per person and buy somebody a healthy lunch, that's an absolute no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer. And if you could somehow help support their healthy lifestyle, there's probably no better investment than that. So great stuff.
Because I know we want to rush over it because this isn't construction. This is that touchy-feely stuff. But I'm saying this is the biggest game changer, right? Our industry was plagued with that behavior. Let's drink, let's smoke dope, let's smoke cigarettes, let's do all the construction worker was typically an unhealthy human being, right? They lived an unhealthy lifestyle. It was tolerated. Now what we're finding out is we don't want that. We're looking for long-term effect on our people. And you're right. When I quit drinking and all that stuff, it took me a while for all that to get out of my system. And I realized something, those microsensitivities to consciousness, right? Just to be aware, right? Where I never realized that sugars, the white flours, the stuff I was eating was just like another dope, right? It was just, sugar me up in the morning and then wonder why I'm having jonesing or wanting snacks before I go to bed. I'm in withdrawal, right? My body's in this constant withdrawal. And imagine what it's like as we start to get more and more awareness, right? Those microsensitivities to people, to things, to what's going on out there, right? How much more effective we are, right? And it's a lot, it's sometimes I feel like it's a big conversation to have. It's uncomfortable because it's like, well, I don't push my value. But I can tell you that I'm noticing that we are more and more as a society seeing the effects of the things that we were putting in our bodies more than ever before. Not just like, hey, I'm having some organic stuff, then I'll go home and drink a gallon of wine. Like, oh, look at it, I had an organic apple, but now I'm drinking 2 gallons of wine tonight. That's not going to work, right? What are the things I'm putting in my body, in my system, that has the system I have as clear as possible, as conscious as, it's funny. We came to this planet, or whatever we are, we're in these bodies, having this experience, and people are, checking out. Like, let's get ourselves all doped up and not feel any of it. And you got this chance to feel and be there. So it's a great, I know it's a little bit off topic, but I think that's some of the stuff that's worth really talking about with our people and our teams and our society as we're going forward. We're noticing that shift. So thank you. I'm happy to have it with you anytime. So thank you.
Yeah, if somebody came to me and said, Todd, I want to become unstoppable. I want to change my life. I want to become disciplined. I want to take on the world. I want to start my business. I want to whatever. I would say, that's great. Let's talk about your food.
Okay.
Let's talk about your sleep, because you're never going to get there, or your body's going to give out in a couple of decades. I mean, there are chronic, there are acute short-term symptoms that you'll realize once you get off sugar and flour and soft drinks and fast food and processed food, and you eliminate a lot of these things that you don't realize you're having, your body's attacking yourself because of it. And it's causing some short-term issues. But man, the long-term issues like arthritis and autoimmune disorders and anxiety and depression that come from it, they're just debilitating. So that's what I would tell people is, you want to become unstoppable, start by getting control of your food, because I have never accidentally eaten something in my life. And it's a great place to start with discipline.
But there's I was on an RV trip with my kids during March, and we eat really, really well. I was driving the RV, and I thought somewhere along the way I stopped and had a 5-hour energy drink. I was off caffeine for a long time, right? To stay away from caffeine, I don't know, for somewhere I was in a truck stop, and I thought, I went unconscious for a moment. All my kids were buying junk food. I'm like, all right. All of a sudden they were eating beef jerky, and I bought one of those 5-hour energy drinks. And in a moment, I went from eating a 5-hour energy drink, and the next stop, I wanted to stop at McDonald's. Now here, not that the McDonald's is great, but now I'm going from what was planned healthy food throughout the trip to want to break that. And it's a really dangerous course to go on. And I see how we do it, right? We get tired. We don't plan out. That's the same thing with our job sites. If you look at our job sites, we were talking about before, our people get tired. And when they start getting tired, they stop doing the steps, the planning, being able to get up and over and look at a project, right? So I think they're hand in glove with what's going on, right? That body, mind, body, soul, right? The things we put into it, the energy level we can bring to it. People ask me all the time, how are you so energetic? Where do you get that from? And I say it starts with the diet. Then it ends with dealing with my character defects and making sure that I don't owe anybody anything in life, right? Making sure that I've not pissed, I've tried to give back rather than take from people. And if I I find people carrying a Santa sack, like those big giant orange red sacks, they carry around all kinds of pain and guilt and shame with them. And they wonder why they're all worn out. Well, between the food they eat, the troubles they have in their brains, and we carry this big sack, it makes it hard to operate today. So I know we've gone way out of the construction realm, but that's kind of fun.
But I really think if somebody came to me and said, you know what, our projects are not being productive, we have a lot of problems on the projects, I'm not going to deal with the symptoms, right? Because that's sort of like trying to treat a heart attack with a Tylenol and an ice pack. We got to get to the root causes. And if your projects aren't being planned because from 1 o'clock every afternoon until 3 o'clock every afternoon, your superintendent is in a coma, then they're not going to plan. And if they're not filling out their daily logs, it's because they're in a coma. And if you want to fix it, excuse me, if you want those symptoms to go away, you got to get to the real root cause. It could be food, sleep. I've had conversations with my clients who say, I need to spend time with my people talking about their baby mama drama. They have real issues over here that I don't really understand, but that's the root cause. And we have to go solve that. So I'm all about going down the rabbit hole of diet and sleep and exercise, because I think that's really where the problems lie. But unfortunately, we're out of time. Maybe we'll have to set up a round 2 here.
Yeah, that's for sure. I love this. This has been a great time together. Thank you. It's a lot of fun talking about our business, and thanks for putting this together.
Absolutely. So if people want to connect with you or find out more about your company, whether it's a website or social media or something like that, where's the best place for them to go?
You can always go to cdogroup.com. All our contact information, my contact information is there. Or you can look me up on LinkedIn at Anthony Amunategui, and we'll put a link down the bottom of this to get you in there. You can get me on my LinkedIn or CDO Group on LinkedIn. You can get there a little easier than spelling my last name, and you can connect to us through our LinkedIn ad. So that's the best way to get me.
Fantastic. Great stuff. I enjoyed it, Anthony. Thanks so much for taking the time to make this happen.
Thanks. Thank you.
There you go. Make sure and check out the show notes for all the links that we talked about in this episode. Be sure to go check out the Apparatus Contractor Services team. Go to goapparatus.com. Listen to what other construction business owners would tell you about their experience. And you can also go listen to episode number 182 with Steve Kreitzberg, who's the founder of the Apparatus Contractor Services team, and you'll learn about what it means to always be the buyer and how confidence leads to clarity, which leads to confidence. Lots of good stuff. But go to goapparatus.com and see what they can do for you. Be sure to check out the other resources that I talked about. If you could take a moment and leave a rating and/or a review, I would greatly appreciate it. That means a lot to me. And as always, I appreciate you listening. And my name is Todd DeWalt. I will see you next time.